Jon Mendez here with another of our how-tos. We're going to have a little chat about engine cooling, how to stay ahead of any overheats, and if you've got one, what to look for. So, some boats are really easy to work out what's going on. Think outboard motor. The cooling water comes straight out the back of the boat, you can see it, and if you put your hand under it you can feel, and any warmth in the water tells you early on of any problems. Other boats, small little motorboats and yachts, have a system which pumps the water out towards the stern, and it's not always possible to see or feel it. Bigger motorboats either have water level outlet which you can see, or underwater, which means you can't see any of it. So knowing what you've got and what to look for is really crucial to having a great time. So this one here, and we're in the marina and tied up, so I haven't got my life jacket on because I'm just about to go in the engine bay. But on this, I can just put my hand into the cooling water. Firstly, I can see it, I can put my hand into the cooling water, and I can feel it's exactly the same temperature as the water that's coming out the sea, coming out the engine. So I know there's no issues whatsoever. We're only at tick over, so we're not generating a lot of heat, and that tells me straight away that we've got a really good pump system. So with the engine fitted to a boat, whether it's an outboard or an inboard, it produces heat, and we need to cool that down. So outboards and some quite small engines just use seawater pumped around the outside of the engine components to keep it all cool. That's just called raw water cooling. Now that's all right up to a point, but salt water in particular is pretty corrosive. So as your engines get bigger and more expensive, we use something called indirect cooling. That's where we have a cooling system filled with coolant, just like you do on your car, and then we use seawater to cool what on the car is called the radiator, and on a boat engine is called a heat exchanger. We exchange the heat of the coolant against the coldness of the seawater, and that keeps the engine cold. So to make that work, we need a good supply of seawater. Well, that's great, there's loads of it outside. It can be fresh water, but in our case it's seawater. We filter it to make sure that it stays nice and clean, and we pump it around the system. And then to get rid of it, because at speed this will pump in the region of 50 gallons a minute, we put it out with the exhaust, which allows the exhaust to be cooled down and stops the engine room and all the exhaust components getting too hot. And that's the basic idea. So on our particular boat, we have a seacock that comes up through this big fat pipe into this small thing that looks like a bucket. And this is actually the seawater filter, and that takes any weed, debris and bits and pieces out, because we want clean water, otherwise the system will clog up. And that's done by sucking the water through the seacock, through the filter and down this big fat pipe by this thing up here, which is called an impeller pump. And in there's a big rubber vaned impeller which is spun by the engine, and that sucks the water up and through. Going from suck, it then pushes the water through this big object here, which is our heat exchanger, and that acts just like your car radiator. And then it exits on this boat, it's quite a simple system, through an oil cooler on the back there, which actually cools our gearbox oil, and then it goes out in the corner into the exhaust. So one of the things that people find difficult is working out what part of their engine does what. Well, the cooling system is actually really simple, because if you found your seawater pump and you follow the pipe which comes out, usually the first thing it comes to is the heat exchanger, where it's cooling the engine coolant. And all coolers, it doesn't matter what boat you're on, all coolers will have 4 pipes. So we've got seawater in, seawater out. So that's the part that's doing the cooling. And then on the top here, we've got coolant in and out. So exactly the same process, but this is the hot water generated by the engine and the coolant and antifreeze that's in it being cooled by the seawater. So there's our in and out for the coolant, there's our in and out for the seawater. And then on the rear of the engine, we've got exactly the same. We've got 2 fat pipes which is doing seawater in and out, and 2 thin pipes doing oil in and out. So if you just follow the pipes, it will tell you what it's cooling. Now this engine also has an intercooler for the air, and if you look at that, you'll again see pipes in and out, but they're connected to the coolant system, not the seawater. So all you got to do is follow the pipes and logic tells you what you got. So how do I know it's working well? Well, one of these little gadgets is the best invention since sliced bread. It's an infrared thermometer, and all you do is squeeze the trigger and it puts a red dot to take the temperature of something. So with this, I can take the temperature of the water coming in from the sea, and that will give me pretty much whatever it is in the sea at that moment. So in the UK, in the winter, it will be 7 or 8, nearly 20 in the summer, depending which part of the UK you're in. In the Med, it might be 25 in the summer, but 10 in the winter. But what am I looking out for in a change? So whatever it comes in at, by the time it hits the exhaust, we want it to no more than double. So today I'm coming in at 18, that's about right, we're mid-June, so 18 degrees C coming in. When it goes out, it should be doing no more than 35, call it 40, round numbers. That should mean it should feel pretty cool to the touch all the way around the system. So you can use your hand on the pipes, but if you've got a problem and you put your hand on a hot pipe, that's not a great idea. So always use the back of your fingers just to take a temperature, or use one of these. And what's nice with this is I don't have to be particularly close. I can shine it on the water pump faceplate. That will be at the temperature of the water going through it. Then I can shine it on the inlet to the heat exchanger, the outlet to the heat exchanger, and so on all the way around the system. And if it's going in here at 20 and coming out at 24, 25, that's fantastic. And the same with the next one. It should gradually build as I go around the system. But if it's coming in at 20 on the inlet pipe, and by the time we get to the exhaust, it's doing no more than double, 40, life is good. You've got no problems at all. So why is this good for prevention? Well, supposing we get a bit of a build-up of slag and general detritus in this, if I'm coming in at 20, and on this unit alone I'm coming out at 40, straight away it tells me we've got a problem building. I can deal with it before we have a big overheat. So what we're trying to do is learn how our engine works and use that information to keep it all safe and sound and stay ahead of the game. Hopefully there we've just given you an easy indication of what you're looking for. Now obviously we've done it with the engine off because you can't hear me when the engine is running. So you can do it tied up at your berth to give you an indication of is there good flow. If you've got exhaust where you can see the cooling water, that makes life much easier. But if they're underwater, using a temperature gun or even a hand allows you to get a really good indication of what's going on. Strongly recommend a set of ear defenders if you're going to do it while the engines are running at anything more than tick over. They're really loud. If you're confident to go in the engine room, don't wear a life jacket, and just with your temperature gun, take the temperatures of the inlet and where it goes in the exhaust, and that'll give you a really quick instant, is it all running well? You're looking for no more than double from in to out. Very simple.